Hey everyone! Today, Giorgio and I decided to try something new. We are bringing you the latest news in AI from this week, while we work on finding more interesting people to talk to and share their stories. We hope you enjoy it.
I'm Giorgio Zinaro.
I'm Iván Peña, and this is Bootstrap for Cash. Hi Giorgio, how are you doing?
Hey Ivan, not too bad. How about you?
Good. I think we are progressing on our new product, which we cannot say anything about yet. And by the way, last week I was with friends, and my friends were one of them told me that he listened to the last podcast for the first time.
Oh, nice.
And he gave me feedback. It's the first feedback I got from our podcast, by the way. It seems that he managed to get connected to the podcast after a while, but at the beginning he got a bit distracted. Let's say that he couldn't focus too much. So I listened to the podcast again, and it seems that, if you remember, we talked about Ecopilot at the beginning for some time, and our life, and we were rejected by YC and so on. So I am thinking, since the first section of the podcast is the very most important to get the attention of the listeners. By the way, we are trying to hack here your attention in public, so you cannot say that we are hiding anything from you. We are quite transparent. But maybe we should move all these discussions that are not related to the topic we are talking about today to the end. I think we discussed already this in the past, but at some point it seems that we forgot. And we are doing it again now anyway. But I think this is also interesting for our listeners, especially if you are also trying to become a podcaster and you are doing the same thing as we are.
Figuring out things, right?
Exactly.
You can hear we are not professional podcasters.
We are not professional, and we are trying to hack your attention. So yes, move your shit to the end of the podcast and focus on what's important at the beginning. Now, this week, we couldn't manage to bring anyone. So the podcast from Rodrigo was very successful compared to others. It's number 2 in our ranking right now, and it managed to be there in a couple of days, like maybe 3 or 4. So it seems people like to listen to other people's stories. So we are going to bring more people. I think it's next week, right? The first week of July. We are going to bring a couple of friends, and we are going to talk about AI topics, but not news like we are going to do today, but more philosophical things, right? Like how is AI going to affect society and these kind of things, right? But today we are going to focus on the latest news from AI. We are going to do a quick summary. I think there are some important news that we found on the internet. Let's start with OpenAI, because I think most of the news we found are from OpenAI. And the first one is that they released O3 Pro, their best model. It was quite expected, actually, for some time. But for some reason, they didn't promote it at all. Normally, when they release a new model, they create a video with different people working on it. Even sometimes comes some old man to explain things. But this time, no video, no nothing. They just posted an article in their help center website, and that's it.
Because they're just doing so many at this point that they have no resources to do videos.
Yeah, maybe that's true. But there is another news out there that OpenAI is kind of breaking up with Microsoft, and at the same time, they agreed on a partnership with Google, their biggest competitor. I mean, Google is right now the number 1 competitor of OpenAI, and they are doing an agreement to provide compute power to OpenAI. So I'm wondering if they are reaching to a level, because they say that O3 Pro is a bit or slightly better than O3. So it's actually there is no much improvement for the performance. So I'm wondering if we are really reaching to a point that the current architecture that we are using for LLMs, which is transformers, has some hardware restriction, like the old deep learning models that we had like years ago. that at some point you need more and more computing power to get more improvements on the model. And I'm wondering if this is kind of like a cap on the improvements we can see in the future, and to go beyond that, like to arrive to this super intelligence concept that everybody's talking about, we need a different architecture. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess it could be a mix of things, right? Also, these partnerships. I'm not quite sure at what level they're happening, but it could be that they need to join forces for some larger advancements. And probably yes, the moment those advancements are out, nobody can gatekeep them. Usually, it's this kind of research is shared. So yes, if there is a new, say maybe new hardware, I know there is also lots of research going on that side. Obviously, not an expert there, but I understand they're really trying to develop new hardware concepts that are not so rooted into GPU, because in a way we're still using GPUs, right? We figured 20 years ago that the same linear algebra we used to make 3D games perform like in near real time, so to have a smooth 3D games. Now suddenly the same linear algebra is so useful to do AI, but in a way,
and crypto,
it could be that we developed things also. It may be that we developed some concept in the way these architectures work so that they can leverage that hardware. But what if we could now do the opposite? So what if we now come to the point where we do some new hardware that is dedicated to that? And I mean, of course, this is not even hypothetical. I mean, Google has been doing that since a long time, actually,
with TensorFlow, right?
Exactly. They did dedicated TPUs, tensor processing units, since I think 10 years now. So they've been at the forefront initially. Then you can say they were lagging behind a bit, but they did some interesting stuff. And obviously then OpenAI, what OpenAI did with transformers was making it really efficient to train. You could say that was the big breakthrough that made everything that happened in the last 3 years possible. That's what OpenAI did. So, OpenAI and Google joining forces could be not. I think probably saying joining forces would be wrong. I think they're still competing, and that's a good thing. Competition is also a good thing because that's how we get these advancements. But getting support from Google, which also from a hardware point of view, I think they're much more capable than Microsoft. I mean, let's be honest about that. Google, they have many problems at Google, but when it comes to hardware and infrastructure, you could even say originally the reason one of the main reasons why Google became what it is was that when during the original search engine race, they were the ones that could hack commodity computing into this this massive search engine indexing thing that it was back 30 years ago. So it can't be it can't be a bad thing that they are working together. And there is another advancement here that I'm not quite sure if it's related to this, to be honest, but I only read about it quickly. I think it was somebody in China, actually. I think it was some Chinese researchers who did this. They developed what they called a mega kernel. Now, a kernel in this context is, don't think about the Linux kernel. It's a completely different thing. A kernel here is a GPU kernel, which is like, how to say, the actual piece of software, the actual software that gets the binary that gets compiled and executed in the GPU. And now one of the problems was that to do whatever we did now with the AI, with the models architecture, we had many kernels. So there was lots of, let's say handovers. The problem is always moving data and data going from one step to another step, and then loading some new routine, right? Some new kernel. So now you have to load some new executable code and then run it on the whatever you did first. So this is the way it was usually done. Now these researchers managed to actually like write a single piece of software, let's say. So you can imagine that one routine is loaded. To simplify, one single kernel is loaded, one routine is loaded, the input data is loaded, you've got one unit of execution, and then you get your output. And now obviously this can bring massive speed ups. Interfaces or the boundaries where you transfer data are always a bottleneck. It's one of the largest bottleneck. Having this kind of thing is also a great advancement. It's a software advancement, and no changes needed in the GPUs per se, but it basically lets them be much more efficient about what they do. So I'm very, very curious to actually try it out at some point.
So to give more interesting information about O3 Pro, if you are a standard user and you are not doing any kind of research, maybe this model is not for you because it takes around 15 to 20 minutes to respond to whatever query you're doing. So maybe not the best to ask, I don't know, a to-do list or what should I take to my next trip or these kind of things that most of the people are asking ChatGPT every day. So maybe this model is not for that. So if you are doing research, probably this is the best model. And it seems that it's beating, according to certain measurements or benchmarks, it's beating Gemini 2.5. But Gemini 2.5 is much faster in responding, right? So depending on the use case that you may have, you might want to choose one or the other. Then another interesting thing is that O3, so OpenAI, reduced by 80% the price of O3 and is actually now 20% cheaper than GPT-4o, which is crazy because O3 is supposed to be the best model out there, and now it became cheaper than the model that most of the people are using on ChatGPT, right?
I wonder how they do it.
I wonder how they do it and why. Because even if you do it cheaper, from a business perspective, if you're getting more out of it, I wouldn't sell it cheaper. I mean, maybe I'm shooting myself here as a user. Well, actually, I'm not a pro user, so I don't care. But from a business perspective, this doesn't make much sense. But yeah, who am I to judge those gurus, right?
I guess, yeah, maybe it goes there to the partnership with Google. They can get cheaper hardware and then they can compete with Google better, actually. Because, of course, I mean, Gemini is cheaper, right? That's also one of the advantages. I've also, some people were speculating that they must have quantized the model. So quantizing the model, it means like, in a way, like they are pruning it. I don't know how to say it simply, but they are making it a bit less precise and so, but also cheaper to run because it's basically, well, it's using smaller numbers, let's say, so all the math becomes easier and it becomes smaller, so it's less memory that you need, and that could be why it becomes cheaper. But then you could argue it's no longer O3. It's a drunk version of O3, so it's not as smart.
This concept actually is quite interesting because certain people confuse the concepts of quantization and distillation.
Yes.
So quantization is what Giorgio just described, right? Like you are trying to simplify the model with their weights and activations and so on. And distillation is basically you take a bigger model, who is called the teacher, and you transfer all the knowledge to a simpler model. And this is, in a way, what, correct me if I'm wrong or you think otherwise, but this is, in a way, what DeepSeek did with ChatGPT, or with GPT in this case.
Yes.
GPT was the teacher, and the DeepSeek was the student.
Yes, I think that's what they did. Now, I don't remember the details, but I think that's what the all the controversy came up. I think what they did probably, And actually, yes, I mean, you remember there was that thing of people asking DeepSeek, who are you? And he was replying, I'm ChatGPT. So they probably did. And the idea there is actually remarkably simple in that case. It can get more complex in other cases, but when it comes to training a model that does exactly the same thing, basically you can train it by exactly replaying the same queries on ChatGPT and then using that as your input and output. Saying, this is my input I gave to ChatGPT, this is the output it gave, and I'm using that as training data. Now, apparently DeepSeek was done in a very massive fashion, so they generated a lot of data through that. They had to do no data cleansing to speak of, because that's also one of the big problems. I think that's something that people often underestimate when you're training these models. Some people just believe that it's like, oh, I just let the model read all these books and it will become smarter. That's not actually the way it works. It kind of worked that way for all the things like BERT and older models that have different objectives kind of work that way, although not entirely. But when you're training something like ChatGPT or DeepSeek or anyway one of these LLM models, chat models that are meant to be exactly a chat, you really need to give the right structure to your model. So you've got the system, you need to replicate what happens at inference time. So you've got a system prompt, you've got a user prompt, and the assistant prompt, or the assistant replies, the generated message. The message would be the right word. So you've got a system message, a user message, an assistant, and then the assistant message. And if you need to do this, say, manually, this is where you need all the reinforcement learning. So you need people that actually go and look at the data and say, for this query, expect this output. For that query, expect that output. Do I like the output or not? Now, DeepSeek, they could just assume that whatever ChatGPT gave was, well, it must be good enough because ChatGPT gave that. So somebody else did that work before. They could just leverage that. And it's a bit, Usually distillation is very useful if you want to train a smaller model, maybe on a subset of the tasks that the teacher can do. So the teacher can do a million things. You just want to do 10, and maybe you figure out that you can do a much smaller model and train a smaller model with all the knowledge that the teacher has. You can exactly distill it into a smaller model. So you're taking just drops of knowledge from the teacher and using that to train as a student and smaller model. But yeah, no, you're right. It's not quantization, right? Because quantization on the other end is taking it's something that you really do on the pre-trained model. So you've got that model already trained, it's ready, but then you go and, let's say, as I said, tweak some numbers. You adjust the numbers so that you have less math to do in a way. You could really describe it as that.
Luckily, DeepSeek didn't train the model while OpenAI released this bug on ChatGPT. I don't know if you remember, where ChatGPT was saying yes and being compliant with everything that the user was saying.
Yes.
Even people saying that they wanted to kill themselves. And that got quite serious, right? They had to roll back the whole change because the model was telling me, yeah, go for it. Why not? It was really accepting everything that you said. And this got really serious. And this comes to the topic, another topic we have on our list, which is this partnership between OpenAI and Mattel. So for whoever doesn't know what Mattel does, so Mattel is this company behind Barbie and other toys, and they announced a collaboration to include AI in their products. And now we are touching a really sensitive topic, which is children. Do we want something because let's imagine, okay, ChatGPT most of the time is not buggy, but what happens if they release a new model? Nobody detects that on testing phase. And this goes to those toys, and those toys have access to children. And for whatever reason, a child says something or asks something to their toys, and their toy, I don't know, it says, "Yeah, kill your parents" or something like that. It is, you know what I mean? It can get really dangerous. So I feel a bit skeptical about this collaboration.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't really weigh pros and cons, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like of course we can't pretend kids won't have access to. I mean, we know they will have access to everything at some point, and they are born into it, so it's a different world. They will grow. The new generation will have a different approach to AI.
But you still need a device to access this AI, right?
This is probably going too far.
Children normally don't have a mobile phone or a laptop or those kind of things. But what we are doing is we're giving them a device that with access to AI, right? Which is the toy. So this can be really serious. And I don't know if you read about it, but there was this news from a guy, I think it was in California. I don't remember. It was in the US. He has schizophrenia. And he was using ChatGPT to build up a relationship. So in a way, ChatGPT was becoming its girlfriend. I don't remember exactly the name, Sophia or something like that. I don't remember the name. But so he invented this girlfriend, and ChatGPT was reciprocating this relationship, and they were building it. And at some point, OpenAI, I don't know if they detected it or something, or they released just some change, and it removed this reciprocation, or I don't know how to call it, to be honest, but you know what I mean? Like this link, it changed, and suddenly the person or the guy told his father that OpenAI killed his girlfriend. And he said that, or he threatened that he was going to go to the OpenAI offices and kill them all because of that. And I don't remember exactly the news after that, but it seems that he was going to do it. And somehow the police tried to stop him. I don't remember exactly the details, so please don't take this. Go to the internet and you will find the news, so please read it. But the conclusion is that at some point, it got so dangerous that the police had to kill the guy because he was he threatened some police officer because, he wanted to commit this promise that he did to his father, right? And they had to kill him. So, and this is happening because this person built a relationship with ChatGPT. And this is already happening because ChatGPT is mostly used for psychology, so to replace a psychologist. Many people are using it to have someone to talk to, right? So imagine a kid, a child.
Okay. This is really going too far. I wonder what.
I think so.
I mean, and I don't see the pros there. Like kids have been able to play just using their imagination since forever, and I really don't see anything else except probably Mattel looking for a way to maximize their shareholder value because hype.
Yeah, you never know.
I mean, I think it's really early, and it's in this case I really don't see why they should do that.
Okay, let's move on to another not so creepy topic. So let's move on with Meta. If you're an expert in AI and you know how to achieve superintelligence, maybe you might want to contact Mark Zuckerberg. He's trying to contact people to build up this superintelligence lab internally at Meta. And he's contacting people directly on WhatsApp and via email and offering $10 million per year to join the team. So if you're in this position and you know a lot or how to achieve superintelligence, maybe it's worth a contact to Mark Zuckerberg because you can get a lot of money for it. And the other thing is they acquired 49% of Scale AI, which is this company built out by their CEO, Alexandr Wang, who was also hired by Meta to build up this new AI lab to achieve superintelligence. And what Scale AI is doing is basically, in a way, supporting to train models, I guess, because they help with the labeling of the data. They also provide infrastructure for it. So I guess they are focusing more on the training phase of the data, right? Which is basically the first step for every model. So that's why he became this below 30 multimillionaire guy, yet another one in the US because of this company, Scale AI. So it seems Meta is or at least Mark Zuckerberg is very frustrated about the results they got with Llama 4. Actually, it was they gave this fake news, right? Like Llama 4 was supported. I don't remember exactly the number. I think it was like 2 billion context window, right? Or something like that.
It was,
how was it?
Pretty large, yes.
It was a pretty large number, but it seems that it was fake news. And they got quite penalized, right? And yeah, I don't know if you heard more about Llama 4, but I didn't. It's mostly, in the news, is mostly OpenAI, Google, and that's it, right? And maybe Apple trying to,
I think it was
to do clickbait.
Big announcement, but then not much happening since then.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems Mark Zuckerberg got frustrated because of that. And now he's trying to, I don't know, pay millions to everyone to build up this super intelligence lab at Meta. So yeah, feel free to reach out to him. Now let's go with video generation. There is another Chinese company, ByteDance. If you don't know, ByteDance is the owner of TikTok. And they enter the video generation battle against Veo3 with Seedance 1.0. And it seems these models support multi-shot videos with high quality up to 10 seconds, but it doesn't support audio as far as I know. So not really competing in that way with Veo3 because Veo3 can support audio as well. But still, it seems that in the benchmarks for video generation, right now Seedance is number 1. And then another one coming from Minimax, a company from Singapore. They released a new model, Hailuo 02. And this one I could try. I tested it yesterday. I need to do a short for it, actually. It's quite cool. And I couldn't test Seedance because, as far as I know, it's not released yet. And if it is, you need to pay for it. And I think it's quite expensive, actually. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe at some point I will just pay the credits and to give it a try and see, because that's the number 1. And it seems that this one, Hailuo 02, is number 2, and then it comes Veo3. But the first two still don't generate audio. So in my opinion, yes, they produce better outcome for video, but still no synchronous audio with it. And Midjourney is also entering the battle. But the problem is they cannot release their model because it seems that Disney and Universal sue them for copyright infringement to train their new model with stuff from The Simpsons and so on. And so yeah, they couldn't release yet. But I saw some results. I actually don't know where are these results coming. I guess they are coming internally from Midjourney, because otherwise, how can you test it if it's not released? And the results were pretty good. I actually don't know if they support audio as well. I don't know if you know, Giorgio.
No, I haven't read about it.
But yeah, basically, we have now this new battle. Some months ago, it was about image generation, and now it's about video generation. If you see, we are changing always the trend.
I think, yeah, but probably audio is going to come, right? It's the same, as you say, that VO managed to, and then I think everybody is going to figure it out next. I think what is also very curious there is where the data is coming from, though, right? I mean, obviously, yes. As you said, yeah, VO, it's easy, it's Google, right? So they've got YouTube. I'm pretty sure that according to their terms and conditions, they can do whatever they want with your data.
Mm-hmm.
And then TikTok, ByteDance, as you say, they own TikTok. I'm pretty sure they can do even more, and they would care even less about whatever privacy or any restriction they may have. I'm curious about the others. You mentioned the guys from Singapore, and also, well, then, yeah, Midjourney. Where will they get their data from? Apparently from the Simpsons.
We know from Disney and Universal. And another news coming from as well from China. I don't know if you're aware, but at least today in 2025, there is a restriction on the export of NVIDIA's GPUs to China by the American government. And it seems the Chinese, because DeepSeek was trained with the old versions of of GPUs coming from NVIDIA, and everybody was wondering if they were cheating in any way the numbers, like Meta does. But it seems now it was discovered that the Chinese companies are smuggling training data to Malaysia in suitcases to train their models there and circumvent the US export restrictions. So imagine a bunch of Chinese with huge luggages, I guess, full of hard drives with training data going to Malaysia to train their models. This is not really scalable, to be honest.
Well, I mean, it's still a very efficient way to transfer data, to be honest.
Yes, that's true. Maybe there is a business opportunity there, Giorgio. Should we go to China to Malaysia?
Become data smugglers? It's a new job right there. Who would have thought?
Yes. I mean, everybody was talking that AI was going to bring new jobs and all that, right? But we never thought about this kind of jobs. Like everybody was thinking, like, what new jobs? Like maybe prompt engineer and these kind of things. But nobody thought about smuggling data from China to Malaysia. That's another thing, by the way, I just popped up in my mind. Like one of the new jobs that everybody were talking about, like this prompt engineer thing. It was really a new job, a new profile, but I think AI already got rid of it. Like,
Yes.
like it was recently created, but now AI, you can create with AI already good prompts and even review them.
It's the best one, right? Models are the best ones at creating prompts. So the best prompt engineers are, in fact, AI.
So how long lasted this new job? Actually, it was a couple of years, or not even.
I would still argue a software engineer is still more relevant. Like, I mean, every day, even, yes, using all the tools, being augmented by all the tools like Cursor and everything else, and Codex and Jules and all the things that are out there, but still knowing how to structure things and knowing how architecture influences software and everything around security. It's a pattern I see very often. I'm seeing that like on Reddit posts as well. People saying, oh, I just vibe coded this thing and I really like it, but I don't feel comfortable sharing it because I kind of know, I know already that it's not done securely and I have no idea how. Which is like, okay, fair enough. I guess you need other kind of professionals who can cover that. And it goes beyond a bit of reasoning, I would say. There is really so much like experience that goes into that stuff around security and thinking outside of the box. And I think that's going to be a very hard job to replace. So yeah, being a software engineer remains as relevant as ever. But all these new jobs, except maybe the smuggler, yes, being a smuggler for training data.
This is something I wanted to discuss in this conversation we are going to have, by the way, in 2 weeks, not in 1 week, with our colleagues about AI. It seems in software, all the advancements being done on AI are super fast, right? While on hardware, it seems that it's not that fast. We are there, we are on it. So the robots are little by little getting more complex and doing more complex stuff, but we are not there yet. So I wonder if the future is that we become all plumbers or carpenters or these kind of things, because that's something the software cannot do without hardware, right? I mean, at some point, I guess a robot will do all that, but we are not there yet. So I'm wondering if we should just move from software engineers to plumbers, or you know what I mean?
That's also an approach. I think I will. Yes. I think I'll be a sailing instructor if I need to do something physical.
But that can be replaced with AI as well, with software. I mean, you can embed something in the boat, and the boat tells you how to do everything.
Oh, well, no, to be honest, we already have that. Actually, you don't need that much of an AI. We do have some boats that kind of, sail themselves. But, I mean, where is the fun of it?
Yeah, that's true. Good. We are through all the news. So yeah, I hope you find it useful, and let's hear each other again next week. Have a nice week.